It's not just you. Creativity is incredibly hard. I'd argue it's harder than it's ever been before. Now, I'm not saying it's ever been easy, but finding the space to be creative, especially in this time, is one of the more difficult things that you can do. I mean, why would you be creative? You could instead work a second job. Why go out and write that book? And why not just work on homework instead? There's always things to be doing, other things that make you more productive, make you a more valuable member of society to be doing. Why waste any of that time on being creative? This is one of the problems that I find myself constantly running into. This idea that creativity in and of itself is not valuable, that instead value is derived by the level of productivity we give to others. I've hit on it in some past videos, but I've struggled with this a lot. Being able to set aside actual time for myself to be creative and to let myself do things that I'm not very good at for the sake of getting better at them. It's uncomfortable, and when the systems that we have surrounding us aren't set up to not only reward us, but are actively, against us on trying to make something or be something that is different than what you are, it can be really challenging to find the time to want to do things. I know for me, something that I have been wanting to do for years is make a YouTube channel. And I've had dozens of failed starts. I think most people around my age have at one point or another wanted to do YouTube in some capacity. And it's almost like a rite of passage to have as a ton of failed starts. And something that kept coming up each time was like, why bother, right? Like, why try and be creative when it's already been done? Someone else has done it, except they've done it better than you. And not only have they done it better than you, but why would you waste your time being creative when you have so much else to do? And I'm not saying, don't do your responsibilities, don't put effort into the things that you need to put effort into. I'm not trying to claim that, but this idea that we can't be creative because it's not productive, it's just fundamentally flawed. I mean, fundamentally, right? Like, so much of our world that we live in today was created by truly creative people who pushed the thinking of what they had previously known and tried to create something new. And yet we don't reward that. We reward innovation that brings more value, that makes more money. But what's the point in making more money if there's nothing to enjoy it on? I am not in that situation. I'm a college student. I obviously, it would be great if I had more money, but at the same time, all money would let me do is do the things that I would want to do otherwise. Which I get sounds like, oh yeah, obviously, but like, hear me out. If I had, an infinite amount of money, regardless of how that would actually impact, the economy and what would happen when the deflation hits or the inflation hits, whatever, I would probably still go to college. Now, I'm in a lucky situation. I truly love the degree field that I'm going into, and like, I view it as more of a passion than anything else, but ultimately it would just make my life easier, and I would use the extra time and energy to get better at school, but also to start pursuing creativity. I mean, so many people talk about, you know, when they retire, when they get older, to quitting and taking up painting, taking up all these hobbies. Why do we have to be old to do these things? I don't want to be 70 and just taking up my passion project. No, that sounds miserable. I don't want to sit there and wait till my final years just so I can have a little bit of time to squeeze out what creative energy I have left after years and years of every ounce of my being drained out for the productivity of someone else. No, I refuse. I will not let myself fall into that system. This whole world that we've designed has been designed solely on the backs of let's make as much money as possible, right? Like, how much profit can we squeeze out of people? You know, take a typical college student, all right? Turned 18, starts going to college. You have two options. You either go into crippling debt that you're gonna have to work so much of your life out of, or you got it paid for, which great if you did, but even still, you're probably gonna need to get a job while you're in college. So you get a job, you're doing your studies, all right? So they, in the syllabus for my college, it recommends 2 hours of study for every credit hour you're in a class. So I'm doing 15 credit hours, so that's however many hours in class. They'll just call it, you know, I think it'd be like 8 hours of in class time, 8 hours there, 16 added on to that for doubling it. So you're sitting at 24 hours there. Let's assume that you just work, you know, the remainder of that. So you work 16 hours a week. You're making barely anything. You're working a full-time job on the back of just becoming adult. So you have to learn how to do all of these things. It's insanely difficult, right? And that's if you have it easy. Your college is already paid for and you're just working part-time so that you can, you know, have a little bit of spending money. That is not the case for most people. Most people are working either 1 or 2 jobs close to full-time while they're in college. How are you supposed to have any room to be creative? Have any room to do anything for yourself? You can't. You are squeezed out at every minute of your day for every ounce of just everything that you have. It's not a replicable cycle. It's not sustainable. And yet we've touted it as what you're supposed to do. This alpha grind set mentality, it doesn't do anything for anyone. It just stops people from actually doing the things that they want to do. I will not lie, I have fallen victim to this many times of just, I'll just work really hard. There was a point in college where I had 3 jobs. I didn't need to have 3 jobs, but I had 3 jobs while I was doing full-time school, literally working close to 60 hours a week. And I was wondering why I was so miserable. Yeah, clearly it was the jobs. I mean, come on. But I had it in my head that was what was going to build my worth, that by working those jobs and by doing this, I was getting self-worth from this. Except I wasn't. I was just lining the pockets of people who are richer than me and giving my life to the idea that productivity is what makes someone worth something. I disagree. I'm not saying that creativity is the only thing that gives someone value, but I do think that creativity is an immeasurable amount of what makes humanity unique. And I feel like we do not give enough room for this. And you can disagree. There are a lot of systems that have built up for creatives in this world, and I'm not saying that that is a bad thing. That is a great thing. I just think we need more of them. And maybe we need systems built up for people who are being creative, but it may not have an economic incentive, right? Like, a good argument that I've heard for a while is, well, think of YouTube. YouTube is the biggest space ever for people to be able to be creative and still make a living off of it, right? I mean, you post a video of your art, your animation, I'm posting a video of me gaming and talking right now, right? Like this, I wouldn't call this the most creative expression in the world, but there's a certain level of creativity that has to come with building anything or designing anything. So is this the perfect system? Except it can't be, because there's constraints on it, right? There are things that you can and cannot do. There are elements of creativity that are being, I wouldn't say suppressed, but held back based solely on the fact that it's not profitable. It's not going to make people watch. And, you know, not everything has to be perfect, but it would be nice if maybe we had a system that rewarded people simply for being creative, that allowed people who were truly creative to just make things, and it not matter that it's not profitable. And I say this knowing full well that that system can exist and probably does for some people, but the mindset that we've been baked into, right? That if you're not being productive, then it doesn't matter, is one that I have literally struggled. Like, it's so deeply baked into us that as a kid, I would make a Minecraft world and be like, okay, awesome, I'm gonna play on this, and be like, well, what's the point? Like, it doesn't really matter anyway. And it would make me get off of it. And like, that's not how a 10-year-old should be thinking. And I was thinking, well, it doesn't matter in the long run, it's just a game, so I guess I just won't get on it anymore. But that is not healthy. That is not a way for people to view the things that make them happy. And I would argue that is a partially just my issue, but partially just a symptom of this world we've created that has forced people to do things solely because it makes money. And I feel like that's wrong. I feel like we need to go about changing that. I don't know what the correct answer to this is, but it's not this. This cannot be the way things were meant to be. I don't know. What are y'all's thoughts? Do you think we live in a time where creative freedom and expression is the best it's ever been, or do you agree that there's definitely some work that needs to be done? Let me know. Thanks.